Hello, I'm Stacey Tirro, and welcome to the Dance Studio. Welcome to Spring Valley High School's annual Spring Dance Concert, Let's Dance 2021, highlights of a virtual year in dance. This has been a very strange year. Normally at this time, our dance students are wrapping up a very active year, experiencing the exciting transition from the dance studio to the stage and doing a live performance under the hot lights of the theater with their friends and their family applauding them in the audience. Well, we all know that that didn't happen this year. In the fall, when we started virtual learning, everybody asked me the same question. How are you going to teach dance through a computer screen? Well, at first I had no idea. We spent the beginning of our school year just trying to establish how to make virtual education workable. How could we best communicate with each other? How would I be able to make corrections for the students? How would I know if they're even learning anything? I think the one thing that may have been a positive in this whole experience was that students had to learn how to self-advocate and become more responsible for their own learning process. The concert is just a demonstration of the resilience that our students needed throughout this pandemic. It was not easy, but we managed to find ways to make rich learning opportunities happen for our students. As you will see, some of our students learned from home, others were in school. Our remote kids had to manage their limited space and technology resources in order to create their concert videos. Our in-person kids had to stretch their bodies and minds while wearing a mask and socially distanced from their peers in order to dance. There were challenges at every turn, but I'm proud to say we did it. We learned about dance technique, fitness, performance quality, timing, and history. We also learned just how adaptive and resilient we all are. Thank you for taking the time to watch Spring Valley High School students as we share our highlights of a virtual year in the dance studio.
What is a folk social dance? A folk social dance is a popular dance considered as part of the tradition or custom of a particular people.
Folk dances are developed by people and reflect the life of the people of certain country and region.
Dances often tell a story about a certain region or country. These stories are told with hands, objects, or clothing.
A folk dance is usually used to express a culture or past. It usually passed down through generations and becomes tradition in cultures and countries.
Folk dances keep cultures alive. They are usually performed in social gatherings. These dances illustrate one's country and culture.
In Romania, it started as a slow dance, often by Jews and non-Jews. At the start of the 20th century, it arrived in Palestine, where it was transformed into a collective and joyous circle dance.
Hoya evolved as an annual circle dance performed in Athens at the festival of the Greek god Dionysus. It later further expanded to special horas that were danced for specific occasions.
Hora is a traditional dance done at Jewish rites of passage, such as weddings and bar mitzvahs. It involves the formation of a circle and continuous rotation.
Dancing in small circles. Hold the shoulders of the people next to them. Steps are comprised of grapevine and kick steps. The circles move in counterclockwise direction.
Samea,
has its roots in Romania. It is taught in Romanian schools, and the dance is like the hora, also includes the grapevine and another step called the heel stomp.
The term ballet stems from the Italian word ballare, which means to dance.
Ballet traces its origins to the Italian Renaissance when it was first introduced as court entertainment. During the 15th and 16th centuries, it was formalized as a dance technique. The epicenter of the art moved to France following the marriage of the Italian-born aristocrat Catherine de Medici to Henry II of France.
Ballet originated in Italy, but when it spread into France, it massively gained popularity, leading to many French terms. Louis XIV also elevated it to a dance requirement training and proper technique. Common techniques would be le plié, relevé, battement, tendu, and dégagé, but there are many more positions and techniques. There are 4 different types of ballet, and they are called classical ballet, romantic ballet, neoclassical ballet, and contemporary ballet.
Ballet is a rather strict dance style that displays delicate, graceful, and long extensions of the body. The overall technique that is involved in ballet is of high importance, and the dynamic it creates through its choreographies can tell dramatic stories.
Ballet is an art form created by the movement of the human body. It is theatrical performed on a stage to an audience utilizing costumes, scenic design, and lighting. It can tell a story or express a through concept or emotion.
It's one of the most celebrated and recognizable dancing styles in the world. The history and development of ballet is something that has evolved over time because of the benefits that the dance has to offer. Ballet requires a lot of patience, helps to develop a sense of teamwork, comprehension skills, and problem-solving strategies, so people tend to gravitate towards the dance, whether it's by dancing or watching it.
Dancers often perform tarantella with a tambourine, using it to provide rhythmic accents to the movement. Steps we learned include box step, triple step, and do-si-do.
Tarantella. The name tarantella comes from the town of Taranto, Italy. People used to believe that if someone was bitten by a tarantula spider, they needed to do this dance in order to drive out the poison.
The Korobushka, meaning the Packers Pack in Little Box, started off as a poem in 1861 by Nikolai Nekrasov. His poem describes haggling between a paddler and a young lady who fell in love and were set to marry each other. Some think this poem is an allegory for marriage.
The steps of Korobushka include the run and hop, the triple step, and the three-step turn. This quick-footed dance requires dancers to be completely in sync with their dance partners.
Korobushka originated in the Russian countryside and small towns, making its way into the middle and upper class as it gained popularity amongst the people.
Modern dance is a dance style that focuses on a dancer's own interpretations instead of the structured step. As in traditional ballet dancing, for example, modern dance pioneers often dance in bare feet and revealing costumes.
La danza moderna es un estilo de danza que se centra en las propias interpretaciones del bailarín en lugar de los pasos estructurados, como en el baile del ballet tradicional. Por ejemplo, los pioneros de la danza moderna a menudo bailaban descalzos y con trajes reveladoras.
Modern dance is a style that focuses on a dancer's own interpretations. Modern dancers reject the limitations of classical ballet and favor the movements derived from the expressions of their inner feelings. It is a broad genre of Western concert or theatrical dance, which includes dance styles such as ballet, folk, ethnic, religious, and social dancing.
Modern dance began at the turn of the century. Its pioneers were Isadora Duncan, Loie Fuller, Ruth St. Denis, Ted Shawn in the United States, Rudolf von Laban, and Mary Wigman in Germany. It's a form of contemporary, theatrical, and concert dance using special techniques including contemporary ballet, dance improvisation, interpreted dance, and lyrical dance.
Modern dance is a genre of dance that started in the early 1900s. Over the years, it has developed, and the techniques that were used back then are still being used today, after having developed and improved upon.
There is no limit to dance. Modern dance is the combination of jazz, hip-hop, and Afro-Caribbean. What makes modern dance special is the way that dancers are able to allow their bodies to flow while doing multiple techniques at the same time.
Isadora Duncan is an American dancer who wanted to make dance her life. As a child, she rejected the rigidity of the classic ballet and based her dancing on more natural rhythms and movements.
Isadora Duncan was among the first to raise interpretive dance to the status of creative art. She preferred natural movement instead of what she called artificial movement. Her choreography was based on pedestrian movements like walking, running, skipping, and kneeling, which was known to everyone.
In the dunking technique, the source of all movement stems from the solar plexus, located in the center of the torso between the ribs. All movement must radiate outward from there. In the technique, a thought or idea gives rise to any movement. Focus, use of the eyes, and position of the head, as well as breath movement, stemming from the solar plexus, are the initial physical expressions of an idea.
Duncan focused on the qualities of freedom, flow, and spontaneity in her dance techniques. Her techniques, in contrast to ballet, which require a lot of training and technique, are pedestrian in nature, which are common knowledge to many people, things like walking, hopping, and running. Of course, it still requires technique to dance and portray what Duncan wanted to. At a certain point in her life, she had many dances and techniques inspired off of Greek myths, like her Tanagra sequences and Walk of the Gods.
Isadora Duncan was an American pioneer of dance and is an important figure in both the arts and history. Known as the mother of modern dance, Isadora Duncan was a self-styled revolutionary whose influence spread from America to Europe and Russia, creating a sensation everywhere she performed.
Isadora Duncan's movement broke barriers in a time of conservative restrictions. She continuously changed the interpretation of acceptable dance and pushed creativity when the world wanted it to be concrete.
Isadora became an icon in the dance world. Isadora mainly danced on barefoot and loose-fitting tunics, which is far from the acceptable norms of polite society. She mainly believed in paying homage to the self, earth, and universe, and that dance should be free-flowing and spontaneous. She captured audiences with her revolutionary interpretation of modern dance.
September 14, 1927. Isadora Duncan is tragically strangled in Nice, France, when the enormous silk scarf she is wearing gets tangled in the rear hubcaps of the convertible car that she was riding in.
The waltz is a partner dance that was originally called waltzing, which means to revolve. It traveled to Britain in the 18th and 19th century, where it was banned on moral grounds due to close proximity of the partners in the dance.
The waltz steps we learned in class were the basic box steps, a rotating box, the twinkle, and the three-step turn. Location of today's Germany and Austria in the 13th century. The style was immediately picked up by other nations, who created its own form and style of the dance. The United States accepted waltz during the 19th century, and by the early 20th century it became a popular dance everywhere.
Popular during the 18th century, the waltz was criticized because of its close hold and rapid movement. Religious leaders called it sinful and vulgar, but by the late 19th century, it was already starting to get accepted in the US.
Waltz is a dance born in the suburbs and alpine region of Austria. Characterized by a step side and step in three-quarter time, the waltz, with its turning and bracing couples, at first shocked polite society. It was originally thought of as a scandalous affair.
quickly gained popularity in 1835 when it was introduced into the ballrooms of Prague. It quickly spread across Europe to England and eventually the United States, where it eventually replaced the popular dances country dance and cotillion. Invented by a young girl, Anna Slezak, to a song called Uncle Nimrod by a White Horse, she called the quick and lively step Madeira.
Polka originated as a peasant dance in 1834. The dance god is named from the Czech word polka, which means half step. The basic step pattern is hop step, close step, or hop chase step.
Doris Batchelor Humphrey was an American dancer and choreographer of the early 20th century. She was a pioneer in American modern dance and an innovator in technique, choreography, and theory of dance movement. Humphrey's codification of her movement philosophy of fall and recovery and the development of a movement vocabulary based on its rhythm stands today as an important tradition in the modern dance family tree.
Buenas. Doris Batchelor Humphrey fue una bailarina y coreógrafa estadounidense de principios del siglo XI. Fue pionera en la danza moderna estadounidense invadora de técnica, coreografía de la danza y teoría del movimiento de la danza, codificación de Humphrey, de su filosofía de movimiento de caída y recuperación y el desarrollo de un vocabulario de movimiento basado en sus ritmos, se mantiene hoy como una tradición importante en el árbol de la danza moderna.
Dissatisfied with teaching in a small Midwestern town, Humphrey moved to California and joined the Denishaw School in 1917. As the favorite of Miss Ruth, she was soon teaching classes and performing with the company in feature roles. In 1928, Humphrey and Charles Weedman left the Denishaw Company to found their own school and company.
Humphrey-Weidman technique was based on principles associated with Humphrey's theory of fall and recovery, or as she liked to put it, an arc between two doves. This technique utilized the rhythm of an inhale and exhale to emphasize the momentum of a movement. Swing, suspension, leaps, turns, giving the simplest of steps definitive moments of an off, balance, and eventual stability.
Doris Humphrey once said, "There are movements which impinge upon the nerves with a strength that is incomparable, for movement has power to stir the senses and emotions unique in itself." Her life's work was dedicated to expressing the human experience through movement.
The expressive nature of movement was of extreme importance to Doris Humphrey. Nothing so clearly and inevitably reveals the inner man than movement and gesture. It is quite possible one chooses to conceal and dissimulate behind words or paintings or statues or other human expression. But the moment you move, you stand revealed, for good or ill, for what you are.
Humphrey suffered from severe arthritis, causing her to disband her company in 1940, retired from performing in 1945, and became the artistic director for the Jose Limon Dance Company. Limon was a former student of Humphrey's. She died of cancer in 1958 in New York City, just before the publication of her book, The Art of Making Dances, an autobiography of her experience as a dance maker and a manual of her choreographic approach.
Ornate and sometimes ostentatious costumes can be common in overseas Irish dancing competitions and showcase. Soft or hard shoes are used depending on the style of dance. Hard shoes have tips and heels of fiberglass to add percussion noises and rhythm, while soft shoes are leather laced up, also known as gillies.
Irish step dancing, or Irish dancing, is a style performance most commonly recognized all over the world thanks to its distinct costumes and footwork. It is a group of traditional dance forms originating from Ireland, compressing dancing both solo and in groups, and dancing for social, competitive, and performance purposes. The roots of Irish dancing come from the Celts and Druids who roamed the island before the onset of Christianity and outside influence came along.
Religious rituals involve dancing, usually in a circular fashion around trees. The dance is constructed from a multitude of traditions and styles. The dance can either be done solo or in a group. The ornate dresses are a reflection of traditional Irish peasant dresses. They featured an embroidered detail with celestic design.
The reel originated around 1750 in Scotland, and the Irish dance masters brought it to its full development. Women and men both danced the reel. Women perform it as a light, rapid, soft shoe dance that often includes leaping and always demanding a high level of energy. Men usually dance the reel in hard shoes.
Irish dance is characterized by its upright posture and its precise and quick footwork. What makes the Irish dance unique is the idea that your torso remains upright and your arms are kept straight and placed at your sides. The dance requires intricate footwork.
African dance involves fluid and percussive movements. Fluid meaning flow-like movements, and percussive meaning striking or sharp. The African stance is when you stand with your feet apart, knees bent, pelvis back, chest open. This gives your body the freedom to move in any direction. African dance is a collective experience that binds people together. In many African dances, traditional percussion instruments are featured and everyone participates. Dance, music skills, and leadership are practiced.
In Africa, drums hold a very symbolic and historical significance to people. Drums play an important role in every aspect of African life, including the physical, emotional, and spiritual. Examples of percussive instruments include djembe drums, dundun, balafon, shakers, and many other man-made instruments that you hit or shake.
Serves a complex diversity of social purposes within an indigenous dance tradition. It is also a form of art where everyone participates. It shows leadership and responsibility.
African dance refers primarily to the many dance styles of sub-Saharan Africa. They must be seen in close connection with traditional rhymes and music tradition. In Africa, as with many other parts of the world, ceremonial dance tells a story. More than just entertainment, it recounts history, conveys emotion, celebrates rites of passage, and helps to unify community.
African dance is an expression of life filled with emotion and viewed in close connection with the traditional rhythms and music traditions of the region.
African dance originated in the 1500s in Africa, and it traveled to the Caribbean island with the slaves. The African culture dances merged with the ones from America, which created the African dance aesthetic that we know in the Americas.
African dance involves fluid and percussive movements. Fluid meaning flowing and percussive meaning striking or sharp. The African dance looks as follows: feet apart, knees bent, pelvis back, chest open. This gives your body the freedom to move in any direction.
In the 1920s, the Charleston emerged from Charleston, South Carolina. It is danced to a song of the same name, which was written by Jimmy Johnson. Both the song and dance grew to be a popular symbol of the jazz age.
In swing, most of the dances originated from African American communities, but some, like the Bolba, came from other communities. Lindy Hop, was also known as the jitterbug, was developed in the 1920s and is said to be the original form of the swing dance.
Swing dance was originated in Harlem, New York as a black cultural mecca. This period was considered the golden age for African American cultural, music, stage performance, and art, and it lasted around from the 1910s through the mid-1930s.
Dancing emerged in the 1920s when household radios allowed jazz to sweep the nation, also known as the Jazz Age. The dance Lindy Hop was named after the famous avatar Charles Lindbergh, or Lucky Lindy, known for his transatlantic flight from New York to Paris.
Swing was the predominant style of jazz music played from the late 1920s to mid-1940s. It is usually played by big band ensembles that use a rhythm selection with drums, bass, sometimes a guitar, and almost always a piano, a brass section of trumpets, trombones, and a reed section of saxophones and clarinets.
Graham's technique is a modern dance movement style and pedagogy. Graham's technique has been called cornerstone of American dance and has been taught worldwide.
Martha Graham fue una influyente bailarina, maestra y coreógrafa en varios países estadounidenses de la danza moderna, cuyos ballets y otras obras tenían la intención de revelar el nombre interior. Es más de 50 años, más de 180 obras que ella performó y que lo hizo. Fue algo increíble que nadie lo podía creer, pero sucedió. La técnica de Graham se basa en la oposición entre la contracción muscular y la liberación, un concepto basado en el ciclo. La respiración es lo que ayuda a todo el esfuerzo.
Martha Graham took a psychoanalytical viewpoint on dance. She believed that the purpose of dance is to illuminate the life and the struggles of the human experience, paying particular attention to humans' inner nature. Her dances were dramatic expressions of the conflict between the individual and society in an attempt to look at the internal motivations of humanity. Graham believed that using dance for that purpose would bring psycho-emotional enlightenment.
In 1916, Graham attended the Denishan School for 5 years as a student and left in 1923. At the Denishan School, the technique was described as airy and ethereal, so when Graham left, she took that technique and evolved it into her own. She experimented with body movements, mostly contractions and releases, and ended up creating a style that incorporated sharp, angular, and direct movements to display human emotion.
In 1926, Martha Graham founded her dance company and school, living and working out of a tiny Carnegie Hall studio in Midtown Manhattan. In developing her technique, Martha Graham experimented endlessly with basic human movement, beginning with the most elemental movements of contraction and release. Using these principles as the foundation of her technique, she built a vocabulary of movement that would increase the emotional activity of the dancer's body.
One of Martha Graham's most famous quotes is, "Nobody cares if you can't dance well. Just get up and dance." Great dancers are great because of their passion. In our dance studio, we learn not only dance techniques, but how to make and learn from our mistakes. We develop a passion for expressing ourselves through movement, and like Graham says, we just get up and dance.
Her father was a doctor that studied anxiety and mental disorders, which showed how the human body expressed emotion, which Graham later used in her dances and in expressing her emotions. In her 1996 autobiography, she said, "Movement never lies. It is a barometer telling the state of all the souls, whether to all who can hear it." This was a direct reflection of her father's influence.
Martha Graham received many awards and acknowledgments throughout her extended career, including the Guggenheim Fellowship for Creative Arts, U.S. and Canada 1932, the Kennedy Center Honors in 1979, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1976. In 2020, Time magazine named her as one of the most influential women of the 20th century. La bachata es un baile de la República Dominicana que lleva el nombre de la música de guitarra bachata. En bachata los bailarines se mueven de lado a lado en un patrón de 4 tiempos. Además, el baile tiene mucho más que ver con simples pasos de ida y vuelta.
Merengue is a Dominican dance and is the official dance of the Dominican Republic. It is generally considered easy to learn, thus making it a great choice for those looking to ease their way into Latin dancing.
El merengue es un baile dominicano y es el baile oficial de la República Dominicana. Generalmente se considera fácil de aprender, por lo tanto, lo conveniente es una excelente opción para aquellos que buscan abrirse camino en el baile latino.
Salsa originated in the Caribbean with strong African influence. This dance is done with a 4-beat combination of 2 quick steps and a slow step with a pause or tap. It incorporates lots of lower body movement along with spins to create a lively experience.
La salsa se originó en el Caribe con una fuerte influencia africana. Este baile se realiza en una combinación de 4 tipos de 2 pasos rápidos y un paso lento con una pausa o toque, incorporar muchos movimientos de la parte inferior del cuerpo junto con giros para crear una experiencia animada.
Indian dance has numerous styles of dances that are generally considered folk or classical in India. Different forms of dances originate in different parts of India, and those dances came from either to form the Indian dance that we know and love in most Bollywood movies. The dance incorporates a lot of hand gestures, which are used to tell sacred tales. Indian dancers usually wear bright colored clothes and makeup.
The choreography in Bollywood films creatively blends Indian classical and folk dance traditions with Western contemporary styles of dance. Bollywood music and dance has evolved greatly over the past century, following the popular trends in art.
you.